you know what? Although animating those dynamism tablets was cool, something I haven't done yet, and a nice proof of concept that it would work, I do prefer things the in-person way. Now, you'll notice that even after killing that amount of Endermen, there's only 3 shards. Oh, wait, I missed one there too. Okay, there's only 4 shards. Now, this is obviously because, in fact, I looked it up, the chance of getting dimensional shards is variable. I believe it's a 6% chance on pig zombies dropping one, and less than half of that for Enderman dropping one. That might be what took me so long in the first place. However, even so, you'll notice, well, I've got 5 now. This is an extremely effective method. I don't need the dynamism tablets. I need one sword of the Zephyr that's not broken. Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, let's go to our turn-off method, which is just attach some redstone to the mob spawner, and that should do the trick. I doubt anybody's gonna come in here and kill me. Destroy all my stuff. Nah, they're not like that, are they? Not yet, anyways. Oh, sorry. I'm just humming the Awakening song from the game La Mulana. Man, I watched Deceased Crab play that so many times. But anyway, you join me as I'm just building away here, guys. Let me think here. Yeah, maybe one whole more layer. I'm checking out this builder's wand, which we were picking up in these rogue dungeons, and man, look at how fast this thing lets you build. This is insanity. Well, not Feed the Beast insanity, but it's still pretty crazy. You're probably thinking, dude, Fwipp, man, Jim, what the heck are you building? Well, as you may or may not know, I did mention in a previous video that eventually I kind of wanted to get into blood magic. And blood magic is magic, but with blood. Okay, this is a terrible explanation. The point is, boys and girls, that I'm kind of a builder dude, right? I kind of looked up the tier 5 altar, and this was basically how big this thing is going to get, right? You got your tier 1 here, your tier 2 here, your tier 3 here. Actually, backwards. Tier 1 is the one altar, then it's 2, then it's 3, then it's 4, and 5 ends up having beacons on these corners. It's insanity. So, for something that big, I realized there was no way in heck I could put that anywhere near our house or that small area over here where I was planning to put something. It's just not going to fit. Okay? So, this is what I got going on right now. A giant skull to house it, and if you weren't aware, if you keep mobs in the smeltery, they'll eventually die and create blood. Well, I thankfully was able to safari net something called this bad boy over here, who is a zombie that I picked up from a randomly spawning difficult dungeon, who always has a regeneration effect. So I put that in the smeltery, and it made me a massive tank full of Tinker's Construct blood. Now this blood is not compatible with blood magic, obviously, because blood magic uses life points, not blood. I mean, you'd think they were the same, but they're not. Point is, I'm going to have a giant skull that's like has blood dripping out of the mouth of it. That was my plan all along. I didn't realize the size of it would have to be this big in order to contain the altar. But yeah, I realized I haven't done a building video in a while. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I started off, let's cap this, let's give this skull a cap. And I'll explain a little bit more about how I actually started this building. So as you may or may not know, Minecraft is a game where basically you can do whatever you want, right? And you don't have to necessarily play in every mod, but I kind of want to learn new things and play around because we've got it, right? The question obviously is, where do you start? Well, for me, I didn't want to do blood magic because I realized that with all the rituals and all the giant altar size, that it would look absolutely horrible. So I tried to figure out a way in which I could make my buildings not look terrible. So the logical answer for how do you make a giant blood altar not ugly is contain it in some larger structure. So I had to begin by choosing a height, and I just kind of arbitrarily flew around, placed an angel block, and said, okay, my altar's going to go here. All right? Then after that, I just sort of built walls all around it, going downwards. Now I left a massive space underneath the altar because what I've seen other people do, and this is not lit up whatsoever, so I'm going to have some creeper problems. But the point is, what I've seen some people do is create something called a well of suffering, and then what they do is they put that underneath their altar so they can later automate getting life points without having to stab themselves over and over again. Joking aside, blood magic is the game where you sacrifice blood of either yourself or other people to gain power and, I don't know, items? I don't really know it all that well, to be honest. All I know is I looked up how big the structure had to be, and then I was like, okay, well, Fwipp, you know what kind of a builder you are. You want this to look amazing, massive, and make other people envious of your building. So what are you gonna make it? For some reason, I went with giant floating skull fortress. It's a little cliche, I'll admit, but you know what? Cliché's all right, because when you were a kid, didn't you want to build a giant floating skull fortress? Maybe not necessarily leaking blood everywhere, but that's kind of what I'm gonna do. Right now, I'm just blocking off the mouth because I want it to look amazing. And just like Hannibal's Chalice Palace over on the other end, um, which he actually hasn't seen yet, but he's been busy. He had a new job. Congrats, Hannibal. And, you know, stuff like that. It's been keeping him busy. Anyway, I'm going to use my Wand of Equal Trade, which should make all of this cobblestone become whatever I want later down the line when I have enough blocks to actually make this look how I want it to look. So right now we're just going with a pattern, really. It's extremely important. You might think this looks like terrible right now, but the more you build it up and think this might all become bone blocks, for example. I don't know yet. It just might. Okay, now what I'm thinking is I want to remove all of this. And then put in some ear holes or something. What I was picturing was covering the eye sockets right here with blackout curtains, so you don't really know how to get in, because the mouth area is just for decoration. It's not specifically going to be anything. And it doesn't need to be an accurate looking skull. It just needs to look really freaking epic in the night sky. And of course, skulls have contours and things. So I'm going to have to tear down this wall, put in another one. That'll be fine. What builds have you guys been working on lately? I'm always interested in seeing what other people can do with whatever. For example, I'm always so impressed when I go over to the red team's base because of how starkingly different their base is from ours. Like, they definitely have this industrial factory thing going on, and then Knight's witchery hut is kind of like some sort of modern take on it. Kind of feels a bit pagan. It's interesting. It's very cool the way that he's decked it out in most of the witchery planks, but then turned it into sort of a contemporary style house. Modern contemporary, isn't that the same thing? I don't know. And then we look at our base, right? I changed the Ars Magica structure into this giant fanciful goblet type thing with a transformation tree nearby. Our house, of course, is kind of a castle slash cave slash slightly industrial and kind of creepy with all these angels on top. And then my witchery house is just sort of definitely some sort of wizard's tower that's sort of definitely got, well, obviously, I mean, the front of it is a giant BlitzKraft logo. Let's be honest here. And then the top's a witch's hat. And then up in the sky, I converted the portal to the promised land into a player beacon, which is leaking ender energies all over the place. I mean, thank goodness that hasn't gone out of more control. But there we go. And actually, I found that the Thaumcraft taint has actually literally entered the Promised Land, which is quite interesting. I didn't know it was able to do that. We had the spawn too. I wonder if that was my doing. I don't actually know. Anyway, so this is kind of getting a general idea of what Mr. Fwipp is on about. So if anybody ever wonders, hey, what's that giant skull in the sky over by the blue team base? It's where I'm going to put the level 5 blood altar whenever I can make that. I don't know how long it's going to take, because obviously the resources are a bit much. I'm going to need to actually get into blood magic to create runes, which are technically the blocks that you place around your altar, and then you can upgrade those. Oh my goodness. It's very complicated-ish. But what's the end game of blood magic? I don't know. I don't even know that. All I know is you can automate it so that basically you've got some sort of special magical energy. And that sounds good. And now we take our builder's wand and, you know, all this compressed cobblestone that we've been using all this time is going to be great. I kind of just want to build up the wall until it's a little bit past all these other structures, or they'll start competing with one another. You're probably thinking, Fwipp, where do you get the ideas for these buildings? Well, uh, yesterday, let's see, what did I do yesterday? Oh, yes, I went to an amusement park that's going to be closed on Monday, and it's an hour drive to get there, so on the way there, I was thinking, man, that space over there is not big enough. What am I going to do? And then I thought, okay, solution, just like the Ars Magica thing, let's do that again and place it high in the sky. And then I thought, well, what's the best way to do that? Hmm? And then somehow it came to me. I want there to be blood dripping out of my thing. Okay, that sounds wrong, but in this case, it's right. And then I thought, well, I make blood drip out of your thing. Well, I got Tinker's Construct blood, but what would look the coolest? Well, what about blood dripping out of, like, a giant toothy skull? So, there we go. I'll be creating Thaumcraft, flesh blocks. I'll be creating bone blocks from the Crypt mod. I've kind of wanted to make a gross-looking thing for a while now, so yeah, look at that. And then there's going to be like an ear hole here. I'll just do that to the other side. Got to give it some character, you know. And the more you build up and the more you make hollows, because that's kind of what a skull is all about if you've ever seen one. It's more about the absence of space than the space itself. That's sort of what these lines here are meant to do, because obviously people have cheekbones or wrinkle lines, etc., and those are kind of what I'm going for there. Gonna give it some depth. Gonna fill this whole thing with blood. And then, if necessary, I'm gonna make some iron spikes and put them on the teeth so it'll be sharp, because obviously sharp teeth are cool. The more epic, the better, right? Does it fit with these other builds? Oh, no. But that's okay, because it's at enough of a distance that it kind of looks small when I'm all the way over here doing my Thaumcraft stuff. Is that true? Well, no, it's still a massive freaking skull. But that was the only alternative, because seriously, the Blood Magic Tier 5 altar has a radius of 8 blocks, right? And then you're going to want to wall it off, because when you're doing blood magic, you're close to killing yourself. You don't want mobs spawning in there, right? So it had to be an 8-block radius in all directions. That's what I got, right? If we look on the mini-map at the size of this base, right? The stability halo is probably the biggest part of this base. Okay, the Osmotic Enchanter is, but you put those two together. And then you fly over here, and on the mini-map, oh my god, this thing is almost as big. Or as big as our regular base. And the stupid thing is, that's just the altar. Like, there's other stuff in Blood Magic you're gonna want to do, right? Oh, Mr. Fwipp, what have you done? Ah, so much to do. We're gonna have to tear off part of the skull top later, of course, because, I've run out of cobblestone. Huh. Man, oh, nope, no, I didn't. Just grab one of this quintuple compressed cobblestone, and this'll just get... Oh my goodness. Yep, and that's what you do. Boom. Suddenly, tons of cobble. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Everywhere. I don't mean to get sidetracked, but seriously, building is kind of an exercise that when you take other people along to watch you, there's really two things you can do. You can fly around talking to yourself, because that's really what commentary is, or you can speed it up, but that's boring, right? And I want to show people that at this point in my Minecraft career, I have learned that the Builder's Wand not only takes no durability damage, but is a fantastic freaking tool. Makes you wonder what the creative one can do. A little, but I can't use that, obviously. I'm guessing that just lets you build without any material needs. And until I use this altar, I might as well light it up and figure out what happens after that. It's my goal, of course, with every episode in this series, and practically every episode I've ever done ever, that there's something new and exciting about it. I'm either discovering something, or doing something completely different, or it's one more step on a journey sort of deal. Everything is a progression, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is, this is the building part, right? Maybe next time it'll be the figuring out how blood magic works part. But either way, everything is leading somewhere. Playing this game is always trying to get better, trying to do new things, trying to be exciting and different, and that's kind of my goal. And these beacons don't need to be activated, they just need to have beacons, but I'm going to make them at least 2 big, and that's kind of why that's like that. Let's grab some more cobble. Build up the eyes, since that's going to be the entrance. I've walled off the mouth specifically because I want that to be a red herring, I think. Must have some blackout curtains somewhere, right? Could be wrong. And yes, by the time I use the Wand of Equal Trade to build that into something else, I'll have all this compressed cobblestone, basically blackout curtains, back into my inventory. Futuristic armor plating block. What? Ooh. From the chisel mod. Blackstone, okay. There are lots of options for how to build this, but I kind of want to go the creepy route and make it out of like flesh and meat and things and blood, because that'd be really freaking sick, and this is basically the only opportunity I can do it and get away with it without it just being gross and bloody for no reason. Where are blackout curtains? They should be square. Oh, right there. Now I know I need more of them. They're actually pretty good tools too for just hiding off areas. I can either put them here or the entire thing. Oh my. Well, if I use the entire thing, that would take up the whole slot. I could just go with darker curtains for the exterior, though. Or rather, blacker blocks, really. They do that wrong? I think I did. Ah. Yes, this is good. I always kind of pictured myself flying in through the eye socket. It seemed appropriate somehow, you know? But now it's kind of looking up. And that's kind of silly. That's the problem with making something 3 by 3 by 3 is, although it's cool to do that, it needs to look good too. Form, function, and craziness, those are all factors that I really care about. I could even fill up the nose, really. Now I'll make those darker. I'll have blood pouring out of the mouth. Is it fine? Yes. I think I'm going to make the ground look all corrupted. Maybe make an elevator to get up to the inside, maybe, or not. I don't know. It'll have to be decided later. But for now, I'm going to call it right there. And I'll be back after I've probably built some more onto this, because it's going to take a while to do the exact same thing to this side. And maybe put in some ear structures for the sake of it. And this is the final product of which we have right now. Well, to be honest, I didn't expect it to be this gory. I mean, the concept was fine. Giant skull, then cover it in blocks of flesh and meat. Have blood flowing out of the mouth and spiky iron spikes for teeth. I don't know. It looks a lot more disgusting than I'm kind of happy with, but I guess it'll have to do. I've got the flesh from Biomes of Plenty making up most of the head, almost like it's kind of got a brain. And that kind of block has this weird kind of particle effect, which is kind of like odd. I'm not sure how to describe it. So, like, even inside the mouth here, it kind of looks like it's chewing, almost. But the real crazy part... Alright, you know what? The whole building up on the outside was the smart idea. And it took me a long time just kind of equal trading some of those crypts to get all these bone blocks. But, oh yeah, and then I brought in this long ME cable all the way from the base just to put a crafting monitor in here, because that's what Hannibal likes. We already saw that before. I might as well fix him the trouble right by these ear holes. And of course, the blood is pooling under the water. This is so strange, but it kind of destroyed the source blocks when it went down, and kind of polluted the entire riverbed with blood. So that's crazy. Like I said, though, I'm not totally happy with it. Let's go on the inside. And what I was talking about a moment ago is that when you're inside it, the whole roof being flesh blocks means when you're doing work on your blood altar here, and this is a tier 2 one just because of these blood runes. I'm not totally sure how you go further than that. I need to look it up. But like all around you, it just starts like dripping, like skin. There's skin everywhere. It's weird. Anyway, I decided to activate these beacons with defiled soul conductor blocks. Add some blood wood from those trees in the nether. Got an alchemical chemistry set that I don't know what to do with. Got a drum full of Tinker's Constructed blood over here, too, in case I need that for some reason. I always envision flying in through the eyes, so that's cool. And then underneath is where we're going to put maybe like a well of suffering and some sort of monster spawner, because that's totally what you do. And that chamber there is, of course, where the mouth is. That shouldn't be an issue. I can edit it, whatever. Quick little elevator, or just fall down, because I also like multiple routes getting into places. And then you're out here, where it's like all netherrack and infested ground and blood as well. But, yeah, for a building video, an ending thing, am I totally happy with it? I think I'm going to need Hannibal's second opinion very soon. The concept was fine, right? This is cool. But just when it's made with bones and flesh and stuff, I realize, you know, compared to the other things, like the fanciful palace over here, and the industrial castle, and the stability halo, and the witch's hut, and the bee farm, and the tree farm, and the small animal farm, and everything else like that, a giant realistic floating skull whose eyes seem to follow you when you're at home is really unsettling and strange compared to everything else on our plot. Like, you know, it's cool to be in a kind of a cave castle, but then to have a massive freaking bloody skull right over there. I know it's supposed to be blood magic themed. I know I planned it to be a skull all along. I have no idea how to change the concept to make it fit in with this. Like, does it have to? That's why it's all the way over there, because it doesn't. The only thing I can think of is giving it a bigger bottom, maybe put a spike coming out of the roof. But honestly, that wouldn't help it, would it? It's almost like a giant piece of horrific pixel art. And pixel art never fits in on Minecraft servers. Let's be real here for a sec. But honestly, is there anything I can do about it? I mean, that's our finished product. Big creepy skull. I guess we'll have to be happy with it. Again, I'm going to let my teammates feel free to edit it, but I mean, generally, maybe they're okay with it. It almost looks like the kind of place where I should have skeletons spawning and falling into their death or something, because it's quite freaky. Alright, well, anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. Leave your suggestions in the comments. I read them all. So far, that's been real easy because I haven't gotten any. So, see y'all next time.